there's one thing I love more than The Legend of Zelda, it is my wife. But Zelda comes in a very close second. And because of that, I'm going to make a diorama just to, I don't know, be a kind of tribute to the series. Basically, I'm a huge nerd and I wanted more Zelda stuff in my life. So I'm going to start off by measuring out a little square that's going to be the base. Once I've done that, I'm going to cover it in clay. I'm going to make a hilltop. The idea is to have the castle, and it's going to be submerged in water, and that's why we needed to measure out the size of the base. So once I've got my clay all there, sorry for the very close-up angle of my fingertips there, we're going to put the clay in the oven so that it can harden up. I'm using Fimo polymer clay, so you put it in the oven for a few minutes, and then it'll go nice and hard. So that's what we're doing here, and then I went and had a cup of tea. Hey everyone. Okay, so that looks very dodgy at first, but this is the castle that we're going to have underwater. I wanted to get this really right, so I spent a lot of time and effort making this castle. Then completely redid it because I wasn't happy with how it looks. So this is my second attempt at the castle, which I'm pretty happy with. So I kept on checking that it definitely fit within the mold for the resin later on, which it did. And yeah, pretty happy with how it's looking so far. I added these little wormy type things which I smushed down to make a path because I thought it was important to have the front of the castle looking just right, which is what we've now done. So now it's gonna come time to painting. Painting, I started with the base, wanted to get that looking right first. I was also putting off doing the castle because I knew it was going to be really hard, and I don't like it when things are difficult, so yeah, gonna start with the easy stuff first and then cry painful tears. I've just realised that wasn't even in focus. Okay, so the base is looking quite good now, if I do say so myself, and I'm just now realising that I needed a shave. But yeah, thought I'd try some fancy camera angles whilst I was painting. Basically anything to try and make this video a little bit more interesting. Good stuff. So I, at this point, decided to add some gold trim to the bottom of all of the tops of the towers. I'm sure they have a name, but I don't know what they are. So I decided to add some gold to the tops of those because I hate myself, and decided to add another task which wasn't really necessary, but I think it turned out looking alright. There's the Triforce on the front of the castle as well. I really wanted that front of the castle to be absolutely perfect, and I think I got there in the end. So now for the miniature diorama. This is from The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker. The castle is actually underwater. I'm now making the King of Red Lions, the ship, with a little Link to sit on top there. The good news about it being so small is that you don't need the details to be too fine because you're not going to be able to see it that well. So this tiny little thing that I've thrown together will do just fine. This is a clip of me making a wooden base for it all to sit on. If it feels really like last minute and forgotten about, it's because it was last minute and forgotten about. So that was me sawing off some wood at 3 o'clock in the morning to add to the bottom. Which left us with something a little bit like this. I painted the King of Red Lions and Link. Like I said, you don't need the details to be too fine because it's going to be so small. Then a little quick coat of black paint on the base is going to make it look a little bit better than it did before. I think we've earned ourselves a quick cup of tea before we get onto the really scary stuff that I've been putting off now. So pouring resin, never done it before, but I've seen plenty of YouTube videos about it, and how hard can it be? Good news is that I measured out the silicone base, how much we needed, and it turns out that I needed exactly what I had, so I just poured it all into there and gave it a good stir once it was ready. I think you have about half an hour to work with it before it kind of sets too much, so I didn't dawdle too much, and then I poured it very slowly so that I couldn't get any bubbles in there. You're later going to find out that I got a lot of bubbles in there regardless. There we go. So once we had the silicone base in there, again, this was me hopelessly trying to tap the edges of the silicone mold because I thought it would help get rid of bubbles. I thought wrong. That is the utter look of concentration. It's also the look of a serial killer, but you're just going to have to take my word for it that it was concentration and nothing else. Unless this resin goes wrong, and then you never know. I'm just kidding. Or am I? Okay, so this is how it all looks once we're finished with it. As you can see, my attempts to get rid of the bubbles worked very, very poorly. Specifically, this massive ugly bubble at the front. So my way around that is to now have this as the front. I read somewhere that a good artist doesn't make mistakes, a great artist just knows how to cover them up. I am neither, so yeah, I just decided to make the side the front and the front the side. We're going to put some Mod Podge on top of the resin cube that's going to set. It goes on white, but once it dries, it goes clear. They're going to be like the waves, just so that the sea isn't completely flat. If you blow on it with a drinking straw, it makes more organic kind of looking wave shapes. So that is what I'm doing here. Not just being weird for the sake of it. So once I'm ready, I can plop the boat and link on top of there. And as the Mod Podge dries, it's going to hold them in place as well. Something like that. So like I say, that Mod Podge is going to go clear once it's dry. I'm pretty happy with how it's looking so far. I'm not going to lie. Okay, so this is it dry. Like I say, that Mod Podge has gone nice and clear. I'm just gonna dry brush a little bit of white paint just on some of the waves and behind the King of Red Lions to look like the wake of the ship, just to add those final little details. So here we are gonna do that now. Doesn't need to be a lot of paint, don't want to overdo it, just a little bit to kind of imply that there's some motion going on there so it's not just all still. And with that, I'm going to call it a day.